Thank you for joining us. I'm John Razimus. UFOs and extraterrestrials, aliens, go hand in hand. It's hard to separate them. So, I'm going to be talking about aliens, or potential aliens, or creatures that show up at your bedside and abduct you, and how this is related to the occult. I found this magazine at the bookstore about a year ago, and I came across a very interesting article entitled Similarities Found Between Shamanism and Abductions. At the time, I was researching shamanism and not aliens or UFOs, so I found it very interesting because shamanism involves getting in a meditative state, sometimes with the help of shamanistic drugs, sometimes without, basically going into another world, either leaving your body or mentally leaving your mind, going somewhere else and having more than just a hallucinogenic trip, but actually going to another dimension and communicating with other dimensional entities, or having a vision, such as a Native American vision quest. Shamanism can be seen in many different cultures. Native American, in Haiti, the voodoo practices, there are a lot of shamanistic practices incorporated in voodoo. The religions in Africa where voodoo originated, Vodun. You can see this repeated in the Eastern cultures as well, whether it be Buddhism, offshoots of Buddhism. Taking drugs is the most popular version of this shamanism, but there are monk-like believers who practice these things religiously. What happens during these shamanistic encounters? Something very similar to what is reported as an alien abduction. It's the number one connecting factor in all of these stories connecting aliens with something more sinister, or perhaps something more spiritual. Spirits, as opposed to actual physical aliens from other planets. Or perhaps higher dimensional entities. Or perhaps demons. Aliens or demons is something you've seen in the comments section of YouTube, but it doesn't mean it's not true. I understand there are a lot of Bible thumpers, born-agains, or people that claim to be Christian, repeating a lot of stuff like aliens or demons, and you could easily jumble all of their beliefs and throw them away on the wayside because obviously those people are crazy, right? But the fact is, aliens potentially being demons has a lot of merit. Whitley Strieber, if you've ever seen his movie Communion, where Christopher Walken plays Whitley Strieber, who is a real person who really experienced extraterrestrials. We know it's real because he had eyewitnesses come to his cabin and they did see and experience some crazy things. But the main focus of the haunting was Whitley Strieber. Now, you can watch that movie Communion and think to yourself, oh, it's extraterrestrials, that's creepy. These little short gray alien guys, they're creepy. But they never even assume they're aliens in the whole movie. If you watch that movie or read the book Communion and think, what if these are negative entities? What if these are negative spirits? What if these are demons? Whitley Strieber had some crazy trips where he was in their spaceship and he was asking them to show their face, and they refused to show their real face. I believe extraterrestrials out in the universe do exist. I'm a firm believer that mathematically speaking, we are not the only intelligent species in the universe, by far. I don't even think we're the only intelligent species in the galaxy, let alone the universe. But I also believe, based on a lot of evidence, not just hearsay, not just YouTube comments, that this face is a mask. That these demonic entities, these negative entities, these multi-dimensional entities, whatever you want to call them, it's a mask they wear to fool us and to trick us. Aliens appearing to humans is something that you might say on Ancient Aliens, for example, has been happening for centuries. And that is possible. These entities, in my opinion, I was haunted by an entity. It didn't appear as a gray alien or anything like that. It never showed itself. It never revealed itself, except in a few ways, which I will detail later. But after the 2011 incident, I did have a sleep paralysis experience where a black-faced, black-eyed bark, almost Groot-like, from Guardians of the Galaxy, and that was the year this entity appeared to me, was the same year that movie came out. It had black, almost scaly skin that looked like tree bark, pitch black with pitch black eyes. It might have had hair, it might have been wearing a hood. It was pretty vague and I only saw it for a few seconds, but I believe I saw it in my mind's eye. So these entities are in a higher dimension. They can project what they want you to see in your mind. And they obviously have projected this gray alien face to many people. It's easy to dismiss these abduction victims, but I don't dismiss them anymore because I think what they have experienced is firsthand witnessing demonic entities. Crazy story. Let me read part of this article entitled Similarities Found Between Shamanism and Abductions. I'm just going to read a segment of the article. Reading the whole article might take too much time. August 2001. Similarities Found Between Shamanism and Abductions by Simon Harvey Wilson, MUFON State Director for Western Australia. It was therefore of interest to see how alien abductions here compared with reports from USA and Europe. The thesis is entitled Shamanism and Alien Abductions, a Comparative Study. Books such as John Mack's Passport to the Cosmos, 2000, and Kenneth Ring's The Omega Project, 1992, have noted the similarities between abduction narratives and shamanistic initiation experiences from around the world. Put simply, both types of experience involve people being taken unexpectedly by unearthly beings to a strange, otherworldly location where they may undergo a variety of often frightening indignities or challenges. Upon their return, they are often traumatized and bewildered, but may later manifest an increased interest in spiritual matters and the environment, as well as claiming various paranormal abilities such as healing. The title of one of Thomas Bulliard's several articles on this subject neatly summarizes these similarities. UFO Abduction Reports, The Supernatural Kidnap Narrative Returns in Technological Guise, 1989. For the study, I interviewed 11 abductees from the Only Alien Abduction Support Group in Perth. Each interview took about 1 hour, during which time I asked each abductee the same 26 core questions which I had chosen to seek out any shamanistic similarities. I then compared the abductees' answers with the anthropological literature on shamanism from around the world. 1. Initiation and transformation. The abductees' initial close encounter experiences often resemble shamanistic initiation experiences because of their frightening, bizarre, and paranormal nature, and the altered states of consciousness or dream states involved. These experiences can be repetitive and involve illness, symbolic animal imagery, and various spiritual entities. They invariably also result in the development of an animistic perspective in which the abductees regard the natural world as filled with unseen spiritual forces, leading them to express a deep concern for animals and environmental matters. Most importantly, their experiences appear to introduce the abductees to a realm or aspect of reality to which most others in their society have little direct access or understanding. Such experiences and their new, extended vision profoundly transform the abductees into people who, though unusual, may, like shamans, be valued by others because of their anomalous gifts. 2. Genetic, ancestral, and heredity concerns. As in shamanism, the abductees encounter a variety of beings, some of which whom they feel are related to them, may be their ancestors or even the creators and guardians of the human race. 3. Spirituality and otherworld encounters. The abductees regard most aliens as highly evolved spiritual beings, although they see others as more confronting, frightening, or mischievous. Shamans, too, regard some spirits as supportive and others as dangerous and must learn how to differentiate between them. Both aliens and shamanistic spirits appear to have a similar capacity to transport people, sometimes in an out-of-body state, trance or dream state, into what seem to be other dimensions, an other world, or after-death realm. This suggests that aliens and spirits may access or inhabit similar spiritual spaces or altered states of consciousness. Both shamans and some abductees undergo terrifying dismemberment and skeletonization experiences which appear to teach them that their spirit or consciousness can transcend physical death. Why do these similarities exist? Can we now claim that aliens are actually spirits in technological guise? One possible explanation for these results is that, if genuine, aliens from elsewhere in this or a parallel universe are really abducting people as reported. The similarity to shamanistic initiations may be because some form of other dimensional realm does exist. This abduction study suggests that ufologists and perhaps scientists in general might need to pay particular attention to the paranormal consciousness-related aspects of the UFO phenomenon, because further research in this direction could prove important to an understanding of the abduction phenomenon, while failure to do so might prolong our apparent vulnerability to beings whose mastery of altered states of consciousness appears to be so much better than ours. There is a lot of evidence that extraterrestrials visiting people, abducting people, exactly mirrors the shamanistic experience. I didn't talk about the Aleister Crowley drawing done many years ago that looks exactly like a gray alien, because that's cliche. Everyone talks about it, but it's still evidence. It's further evidence. I'm open to as much evidence as anyone is willing to find and collect and gather and organize. I have an open mind. I do believe in extraterrestrials. I do believe in higher dimensional entities. I do believe in spirit entities. I don't claim to know everything. I never will. I'm seeking to explore the unknown, find out the truth. I did have first-hand encounters of poltergeist activity, objects moving in my room for 6 months straight. I've mentioned that at length to an extreme degree. I even had a friend that said, "Why do you always talk about that? Why do you always talk about that?" is what he said. My response was, because it happened. It's kind of something that weighs on the memory and doesn't just disappear. But he was skeptical. He didn't believe that it happened. He read a bunch of psychology books, and he thought it might have been some type of psychology issue. That maybe I had some type of psychiatric breakdown. I never had a psychiatric breakdown. There are movies, and I'm very familiar with them, where the characters in the movies were abused. And to get away from that abuse, they create a fantasy world and a fantasy land. Thing is, I was never abused. So I didn't create a fantasy land. I was never abused. You could say I'm privileged in many respects. I was never abused. So if anything, I was only abused once, and that was by a demonic, invisible poltergeist entity. Very rare scenario of someone only being abused by an invisible entity from another freaking dimension. But it happened. It's a true story. I'm writing about it. But until next time, I thank you for watching. This has been John Razimus. Be seeing you.